what's up? It's Comic95, the Savior, and for this video, I will be giving you 15 free and affordable tips in order to improve your Japanese language skills for people that are living in Japan. Some of these tips can be used from abroad as well, but this is mostly for people that are either studying in Japan, working in Japan, or if you're married and you just have a lot of time sitting around and you've been really just dying to improve your Japanese language skills. So to give you some background on myself, if you don't already know me, I'm an American. I've been in Japan for about 5 years, and I am not one of those people who quickly grasped onto the language and learned Japanese really fast. It took me a long time to even learn basic things like hiragana, katakana, and honestly a lot of it was from me being lazy, feeling embarrassed about making mistakes, and simply not trying. So I'm going to try to summarize these things and get to things quickly. I've done videos on this in the past, but the audio quality was really bad. So I kind of want to redo it, but make a shorter version of that video, and there might be some new stuff inside of this one as well. Again, this is for people that have already, moved to Japan, you're living here for any length of time, and you're just feeling like you're not catching on to the language, you're not learning things as fast as you would like to. These are free, affordable ways. Nothing's gonna, require you to go to a language school or shell out hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, some of these tips actually will make you some money. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 1, the most expensive thing on this list, move to the suburbs. Honestly, you're probably going to save a lot of money by moving because you're not going to be spending as much in your rent, and by living somewhere outside of a major city, like right in the downtown Tokyo area, like Shibuya or Shinjuku, you're not going to have as much English support. There won't be English signage everywhere, there won't be English speakers everywhere, and thus you will be forced to either learn Japanese, you will be forced to learn Japanese, or basically be completely lost. You're going to have to get used to hearing Japanese, get used to reading Japanese, and just functioning with Japanese. You're not going to have that fallback with the English menu and the English train announcements and the English signage, etc. There's going to be significantly less, which will encourage you to speak, read, and understand. I told you guys a long time ago, really embarrassing story. When I first came to Kyoto here, I could not read any kanji whatsoever. I probably knew a couple of things and didn't know it, but I didn't even know the kanji for a train station, guys. I was that stupid. I kept passing the area that I needed to go to enter the train station because the train station was in a really weird spot, above ground, and there was a set of stairs I had to go up. And I was looking at my map I'm here, where's the entrance? And sure enough, I took a risk because I was running late. I was on my way to an interview, and I went ahead and took the stairs, and sure enough, that was where the train was. So I wasted all that time pacing around in the hot weather being stupid. So yeah, moving somewhere where there isn't a lot of, English support available, like the countryside or suburban areas, will definitely help you improve your Japanese language skills very quickly. Again, less foreigners, less English signage, no more English menus, etc. Those things will still exist, but there'll be significantly less of it. Thus, it will encourage you to quickly learn Japanese. Number 2, especially if you are a student, consider getting a part-time job. You will pick up on a lot of Japanese by working part-time because you're going to have to get used to taking requests from customers and dealing with them and speaking to them in Japanese, as well as having them speak to you in Japanese. So you'll both learn how to, communicate professionally to them, as well as take requests from other people and follow instructions. This is super helpful for getting started with Japanese. You'll learn basic things as well as a lot of slang from talking to customers, from getting requests from them to them asking you questions. And then of course people are going to want to ask you where you're from, especially if you're cute and you're a girl, and even if you're a guy, girls are going to want to flirt with you, etc. So you'll get a lot of language practice just by being a foreigner working at somewhere like a restaurant or cafe. These places also hire you without having a high language without needing to have a high level or ability of Japanese language skills or whatever. You don't need a very high Japanese ability to get these kind of jobs. So just by knowing a little bit of basic Japanese, and in some cases they don't require you to know any Japanese at all, you can get a job doing something like, being a busboy, so washing dishes, cleaning tables. You can get a job serving coffee, alcohol, all types of stuff, cleaning jobs, etc. All of these different things. I don't recommend cleaning jobs so much unless it's in an area where you're working at a restaurant or something, and the reason being is if it's like a hotel, etc., you're generally not going to be spending a lot of time talking to customers and people for obvious reasons. So try to choose a part-time job in which it requires you to interact and deal with either your staff and coworkers, or to deal with customers, preferably both. It will definitely help you with improving your language skills, and you'll be able to make money in the process of it. If you are somebody that's working full-time, consider picking up a part-time job just for the weekend or a couple of hours after work on a Friday or something. It wouldn't hurt, and you'll improve your Japanese quickly. Number 3, Watch the morning and evening news. You'll learn a lot of Japanese by doing so, and plus you'll be able to stay up to date and know what's going on in Japan. It's super important if you're going to be living here. You should know what's going on in the real world. You shouldn't wait to have to hear it from an English newspaper or from your English speaking friends or even your company. You should want to know what's going on in day-to-day life. Not to mention that by listening and watching the news, you will get a really good idea as to mannerisms that Japanese people use. You'll learn how to speak, you'll learn slang, you'll get to see all the cool, fun stories, etc. And it'll give you a lot of small talk for when speaking to your students if you are teaching private English lessons or working in a kaiwa, as well as, when talking to your boyfriend, your Japanese friends, etc. Gives you something to talk about. You know what's going on in Japan, and you really get an idea as to how this country functions, what people think, etc. Because instead of you, just living in your own little English la la land where everything's super filtered and based on what interest they think English speakers are going to have or foreigners are going to have, you can get all of the news directly yourself by being able to understand and speak Japanese. You won't understand it at first and it might seem boring and put you off, but honestly not being able to understand will help you to understand because you're going to want to know what's going on. You're able to visually see things that are happening so you can kind of piece together using a little bit of your English brain and of course Japanese. It will require you to of course do a little bit of research on your own when you hear words that you don't know and search them, but the good thing is in Japan, the news typically runs with subtitles, pretty much all TV shows. So you'll be able to see the words as people are saying them. So it gives you a few things. One, it gives you sentence structure, grammatical structure, like when speaking Japanese. So you'll learn how to both write, read, and of course speak, as well as you get to actually see and listen to people talk, street interviews, etc. It'll really give you an idea as, combination of natural street Japanese, so to speak, as well as more professional, formal Japanese. You'll get constant practice of, how can I say, like greetings and just little things people do as they talk, like sighs and and just little things like that. You really learn how to be able to speak naturally and how to listen naturally, and it helps to develop your own accent. In order to be a good speaker of any language, you need to learn how to adopt a native sounding accent. So for example, if you have a Japanese friend that you think speaks English really well, it's generally because when they're speaking, they're using a fake American voice when they're talking to you. So they're trying to hide and mask their accent. They're taking on a new accent and literally mimicking the English that they've heard, oftentimes from Netflix shows such as Friends, etc. Well, you need to do the same thing, and anime is not a good idea to be trying to copy and mimic and sound like, but copying off of a newscaster or something like that most certainly is. They're speaking in a way that is very natural and formal in tone. Of course, I'm not talking about the high-pitched squealy girls, etc., but I mean the ones that are speaking professionally. You'll know the difference. Long story short, watching the news in the morning and evening not only, improves your Japanese skills, but it, keeps you up to date, know what's going on in this country. And you should definitely want to be able to, I don't know how to explain it. You want to be able to know what's going on in the place that you're living. It could be something dangerous happening. There could be a murder. There can be a hurricane, or shall I say a tsunami, or earthquake, whatever the case might be. You want to know what's going on, and you shouldn't be out of the loop and waiting for English translations to be made available to you. Number 4, listen to Japanese radio stations, and or if you have Apple Music, consider listening to the top 100 songs in Japan. This is something very new that Apple just released, at least here in Japan, where you can now actually listen to the top songs based off of countries. By doing so, you'll get an idea, again, learning Japanese, listening to Japanese, being exposed to it. The more Japanese you listen to, the better your comprehension skills will get, the more words you will learn, the better you'll even get at things like karaoke, etc. Give you songs to sing. So again, your goal is to really, immerse yourself in the language. So don't just stop yourself at, watching TV, listening to podcasts, but don't be afraid to listen to Japanese music too. I think a lot of us that are interested in Asian culture, we generally stop with K-pop and we don't really have much interest in Japanese music, especially as an American where most of their music is banned because Sony has such really super, strict restrictions, which is ironic because they love using American music here, even for things that I'm pretty sure they didn't get permission. I just recorded a video the other day, I didn't show you guys, but they were playing Neo's Because of You, a piano instrumental, on the news this morning, and it did not fit what was going on at all. But of course it was a beautiful piano, jazzy instrumental, but I'm thinking like I highly doubt they got permission from Neo to, use his song and broadcast it, and they most certainly, would not be okay with the US doing that with some of their artists. But we ain't finna get into that and get into politics and crap like that. I'm just saying. So yeah, long story short, listen to Japanese music. Believe it or not, it'll actually help you improve your Japanese comprehension skills. Number 5, limit your time with foreign friends. As the saying already goes, I mean, as the saying goes, but you know, obviously putting 2 and 2 together using common sense, if you're spending most of your time using English, speaking in English, thinking in English, when are you going to have the time or chance to learn any Japanese? The reality is the vast majority of us, even if you're working for a Japanese company, your work is being done in English, and even at your Japanese company, you're more than likely being used for your English ability and not so much your Japanese language skills. Thus, you're not really getting a lot of opportunity to speak a lot of Japanese, besides maybe a couple of people at your work. And with that said, you definitely do not want to spend all of your free time hanging out with foreigners, especially if you're going to hang out with them and only be speaking in English. There's nothing wrong with having foreign friends. I'm not telling you to be one of those weebs that are trying so hard to blend in with the Japanese that you're too good for foreign friends, but don't get stuck inside of the gaijin bubble. There's actually the reverse situation in the US. Oftentimes Asians typically, when I say Asians, I'm referring to Asians that are from outside the country, not Asian Americans. They oftentimes stay inside of their own little bubbles. So even if they're from different countries, you would generally see that, you know, all of the Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Vietnamese, whatever people, they all form a little circle, they all hang out together, they all study together, they all do whatever together. And while that can be nice and reassuring, especially if it's like a group of all Japanese students, you're not going to be able to make as many American friends, you're not going to improve your English, you're not going to learn a lot about New York, Chicago, you know, Los Angeles, whatever city you're studying in. You're not going to be doing yourself a favor. And the same thing goes for you being here. You need Japanese friends, not foreign friends so much. It is nice to have foreign friends, and you should still go out of your way to make them, but don't spend too much time just being with foreigners because it will hurt your Japanese ability. Number 6, when you do hang out with foreign friends, hang out with friends that have a lower Japanese ability than you. This might sound kind of, you know, ridiculous and like, what? But trust me, when you hang out with people that have a lower level than you, more than likely you're going to find yourself playing mom, and you're going to be the one speaking for, you know, on behalf of the group. For example, I can use myself. I'm not the best Japanese speaker, but anytime I go out with my friends, I'm always the one who speaks the best Japanese 9 times out of 10. And what happens is, I'm the one that has to place the orders, I'm the one that has to ask for things, ask for help, etc. because my friends don't know how to do that. And with that said, it helps me practice and improve my Japanese, because otherwise, I don't have to do these things. If I'm going out on a date with my friends or my boyfriend, who most of which are Japanese, they're gonna do all the talking on my behalf. Why would I go out of my way to make a fool out of myself while my boyfriend can speak much better and explain things much better, you know, to explain what he's looking for, what he needs, what he wants on that menu than I can. But when you don't have that Japanese friend with you and you have people that speak a lower level of Japanese than you, you're not relying on your better Japanese speaking foreign friends or your Japanese boyfriend, but rather you're having to recall, you know, the Japanese that you do know, and or you're forced to learn something on the spot. So consider hanging out with people and acting more as their tutor when you do have foreign friends. I'm not telling you to exclusively only hang out with dummies per se, but do consider making friends and spending more time with those that don't speak Japanese as well as you do, because again, it will encourage you to improve your Japanese language skills. Number 7, change all of your electronics devices to Japanese. That goes for your phone, your TV, your computer. If your settings are in Japanese, it will force you to learn a lot of kanji, force you to be very careful because you don't want to make mistakes, delete videos, delete, you know, contacts, whatever the case is, or buy things that you didn't want to, or, you know, restart or reload your phone, whatever you want to call it. It will force you to learn things rather quickly. I even went as far to do other small things. So for example, I bought my phone back in the US, and I actually changed, you know, my in the US, as you guys know, we use, what do they call it, imperial system? I don't know, crap, whatever the thing is. We use Fahrenheit and we use feet, things like that. I have my phone changed to using the metric system. So this way I am using Celsius, and I'm also using meters and things like that, and centimeters. So this has been really, really hard for me, but now that I've been using it for so long, I've gotten used to, you know, the temperature being that way. I understand, you know, height, weight, kilograms, things like that. I'm much better with it. I'm not perfect, but I've significantly improved by changing my phone to Japanese. Same thing goes with, you know, the calendar, etc. Now I'm familiar with things like Heisei, I'm familiar with Reiwa, you know, whatever. So it helps you get more immersed in the culture, and of course it also improves your Japanese ability, a very subliminal, free way to improve your Japanese skills. Number 8, create 10 of your own flashcards. I highly suggest that you make 5 kanji flashcards and 5 random vocabulary flashcards. You can get these flashcards from any type of book that you have. Literally just write down the word in Romanji, and if you want to test yourself, you can consider writing it down in katakana and or hiragana as well, and even drawing a picture to go with it. It might not seem like a lot, but it's better to have learned 5 words that week than to learn absolutely nothing. Your goal is not to be able to write these words in hiragana or katakana or the kanji itself, but rather to be able to read. I say this all the time when I'm teaching people English, and with that said, you're going to spend a lot more time reading than you will writing. You're going to spend a lot more time listening than you will speaking. So don't worry about your ability to write. Don't worry about your ability to speak. Your ability is to be able to comprehend. As long as you know what's going on around you, as long as you're able to read instructions and follow signage, that will help you get super, super far. You'll be able to fill out paperwork. You'll be able to know what direction to take and, read signs and maps, etc. That is your goal. It's better to have learned 5 words that week than to have learned absolutely nothing. And it's also a very easy and obtainable goal instead of overwhelming yourself with 20, 30, or 40 words in a week, etc. It's a very small goal and you should consider upping it, but it's better to commit to something small than something too big and then feel discouraged because you didn't learn all 20 of those words or you couldn't learn all 10 or 20 of those kanji characters. So consider taking baby steps and just try to learn a few different words, a few different, radical kanji characters for that week to get yourself started. Number 9, ignore English. This is going to be really hard to do, especially as an American or somebody that's from the UK, Canada, from a native English speaking country, but try to tune out the English around you. If you're living in a major city like Osaka, Tokyo, Sapporo, anything like that, you're probably going to constantly be around English menus, English signage, you'll have English maps, you'll constantly be offered English. And with that said, try your best to ignore English and wait for Japanese instructions. Opt to use the Japanese menu, opt to listen to, the Japanese announcements. This will really test your comprehension skills, especially since 9 times out of 10, the Japanese instructions will be given first. So try your best to do whatever's being said in Japanese. For example, one of the first things I started off with is when I learned hidari versus migi. I tried my best to quickly figure out, okay, which side does the door open on when I'm getting off on the train? And my goal was to get in the position by the right door before they told me in English. Because the moment that they say the door is going to open on the left side, now I can cheat. I know the door is going to open on the left side. But if I have to listen out for hidari, I know, okay, hidari means left. Okay, go to the left side. So just a small little game that I played with myself, but it honestly helped me because at first I had no idea what those 2 words meant. I just thought it was completely random what side the door was going to open on, and it was a game for me back when I lived in Tokyo. So while people may mean well, try your best to avoid accepting English menus, English pamphlets, and if someone does offer it to you, just say no thank you, keiko desu, daijoubu, whatever the case is. Let them understand, oh thank you, but I don't need this. I had to do this all the time when I was ordering fast food. Like if I would go somewhere like Kokuichi, they have English menus, so they normally mean well. They're excited to use their English menu with you. They just want to help you out. But a restaurant like that is super easy. It's already in katakana with very little kanji on the menu. So there's no excuse for you to be using English at a place like that. It's okay if you make a mistake. They're going to think it's cute and admire the fact that you tried to speak in Japanese. When in doubt, you can always point and you will learn because the staff will more than likely repeat what the item is that you're ordering in Japanese. So now you know for next time. Don't be ashamed and embarrassed to make mistakes. They do it all the time, even with Japanese. They had to learn English when they went to school, and they think it's really cute that you as a foreigner, that you're actually trying to make an effort to learn Japanese. They're aware of the stereotype that Japanese is hard, so don't be so hard on yourself. I had a German friend that told me a while ago that the way that he learned Japanese was simply that, he did just that. Wasn't so hard on himself. Mistakes happen naturally, and honestly, by making mistakes, it encouraged him to not make a mistake, because somebody does laugh at you. You want to remember, okay, don't do this again next time so they don't laugh at you. I now know, okay, this is how I say this is how I do whatever. Tell you guys a really embarrassing mistake I made back when I lived in Tokyo. I did not understand ijode. I thought it was imade. So I was saying imade when I was done with my order instead of ijode. Really embarrassing, stupid mistake, but yeah, it happened, and I learned because a Japanese person corrected me and laughed. Simple as that. Number 10, take free Japanese lessons at your local community center. Most community centers here, especially in major cities, they offer free English lessons. They're generally taught by older Japanese people, which means the lesson will not be good or consistent. But again, it's practicing with listening, practicing with speaking, practicing with self-introductions. It's going to stay very basic. You're not going to learn anything super advanced because the people that you're talking to, they're one, going to want to learn some English from you. And two, they're going to mainly want to talk to you about where you're from, why you're here, what do you like about Japan. Really simple basic stuff. It's not going to go very far, but again, it's free and you can't beat free, and plus you get the opportunity to make some new friends, meet some old bored people who are widows, lonely, disabled, whatever the case is. So you're kind of doing a volunteer like service for these people too in your community. So again, take advantage of it. Free lessons, can't beat free interaction with Japanese people in a supervised environment. Why not? Number 11, practice reading and writing hiragana and katakana every day. I personally like to print off worksheets or use my my study books from school, and I literally just made photocopies of them and printed out copies, and I would literally just trace the characters every day and sometimes even write them on my own free-handedly. This way you're constantly getting practice with, you know, being able to read and write hiragana, katakana, which you will be using quite a lot if you are doing any type of written work. And again, it kind of just reinforces learning the language for you. When you do get the opportunity, whether you're on the train or, you know, walking at the grocery store, whatever the case is, I always try my best. Like, I think like how I was when I was a kid. When I first learned how to read, I was super excited, and when I would drive in the car with my mom, I would read every sign that we passed by because I was so excited to have the ability to read and be able to sound out words. Well, coming to Japan, it's like learning how to read and, you know, gaining literacy all over again. So anytime I would see a sign or recognize kanji, I'd be like, hey, I recognize that kanji, that means newspaper, or that means Shibuya, or, you know, whatever the case is. You're not going to read out loud and make yourself seem crazy, but just in your mind, try to sound out words. And if you can, when possible, try to look at things that you have no idea what it is and just sound it out, you know, using the phonetic hiragana, katakana skills that you've learned. So it really helps you improve your Japanese fluency, helps you, you know, be able to read faster, and it helps with your comprehension skills. And if you don't understand something, again, simply do a Google search, save it, memorize it for next time. Super helpful, and again, you will improve your fluency, you'll improve your Japanese ability, and you'll learn new words this way. Number 12, read manga and children's books. Nobody ever says this for some reason. I hear about manga all the time, people saying that they learned it from, you know, they improved their Japanese from reading manga, but hello, children's books, this is how Japanese people start learning Japanese too. Why not pick up an educational book, not something crazy, fan fictional, whatever type crap, and instead pick up a book that is actually about something. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, fictional or non-fiction per se. It can be both. You can read a book that's actually about something that's made for children, and or you can read a silly book that's just fun. The point is that you will learn some new Japanese words that'll help you improve your fluency and, you know, your ability to be able to read quickly in hiragana and katakana. Pays off excellent for doing karaoke. So again, you know, don't underestimate you know, children's books. Manga may be more fun to read, but you will learn a lot, honestly, a lot more, in my opinion, from reading children's books. There's a reason why kids start off using actual Japanese children's books and not manga books for learning how to read Japanese. You should do the same. Why not learn how the natives do? Nobody has to know that this book is for you. You can buy it for yourself. You can simply look at it and browse the store. You're an adult. They're going to think that you're, you know, looking at this book for your child, or that you're looking at it for, you know, school or work or whatever the case might be. Don't be ashamed to buy and or read children's books. It most certainly will help you, again, with starting off with being able to speak, read, and write Japanese. Number 13, use a language app every day on your phone or on your computer and try your best to complete one lesson a day. I personally started off using Rosetta Stone, but I did pay for that, but there is a free version of it. If you can't afford something like that, Duolingo is just as good, and I would highly recommend that you use that app because it's free and you can use it on your phone. So yeah, consider using an app like that. The lessons are really short in Duolingo as well, so there's no excuse for you not to be able to complete at least one lesson every day. It can be done in less than 10 to 15 minutes. I think they only take about 5 minutes or less to complete. And again, it's 100% free. Number 14, use dating apps such as Tinder. As crazy as it might sound, reading all of the ridiculous, crazy profiles, swiping through all of your matches, messaging them, reading all of their messages, etc., it will help you improve your ability to read kanji, as well as give you more natural sentence structure, because you're going to be dealing with people in an unprofessional setting. They will be writing to you in, you know, more natural Japanese. They'll be using slang. You'll learn how to actually in a grammatically correct way, create sentences, and you'll learn how to comprehend things a lot better, especially if you have one of those creepy people that want to talk to you on the phone, they're bored and just want to speak to a hot foreigner, etc. While their intentions may be bad and creepy, it'll also help you in return, you know, gain comprehension skills by talking to random Japanese people in Japanese over the phone. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Again, they're probably going to be more concerned and worried about the fact that they cannot speak English, and just honored and flattered by the fact that they're able to be on the phone with a cute foreigner like you. So yeah, don't underestimate apps like Tinder. You can use them for making friends. Everything is not about hooking up, you know, dating and or having sex. Believe it or not, there's a lot of people on these apps that just want to have friends, just want language exchanges. I've definitely made a lot of friends, strictly friends, people that aren't creeps in disguise, by using Tinder. And last but not least, number 15, date and befriend Japanese people that cannot speak any English. If you're hanging out with Japanese people that have English ability, the reality is you're more than likely going to default back on speaking English, and they're going to enjoy that because it's free English lessons for them. While this might be nice in one sense and make you feel more comfortable, you're not going to improve your Japanese. You might be hanging out with a Japanese person, but they want the free English lessons from you. They can speak to their Japanese friends in Japanese. So they're going to want to use you for English lessons. And likewise, you probably feel more comfortable talking to a Japanese person that can speak English because in your mind, you get the best of both worlds. You have the security of somebody that can understand you, but that can also protect you and get you what you want because they're a native Japanese speaker. But at the same time, again, they are a native and local there. So it's not like hanging out with a regular foreigner that can speak Japanese. So don't get caught into that trap. Be sure to, experience at least being friends with Japanese people. I'm not recommending that you use people and date them strictly for the purpose of that. But don't be afraid of dating people that have no English ability or being friends with people that have no English ability. You can honestly learn a lot just by playing a good old game of charades and using gestures and body language, etc. And of course, the more time you spend hanging out with each other, the more Japanese you will learn from them. You actually catch on a lot quicker from someone who does not speak any English than someone that is bilingual. Because again, the reality is they're going to be spending too much time playing dictionary with you and telling you what words mean and speaking on your behalf. Whereas if you're hanging out with a Japanese person that does not know any English whatsoever, you're going to have to play dictionary yourself and decipher what they're trying to say to you. So you will improve your skills much faster. So that's it. Those are my 15 tips on how to improve your Japanese if you are living in Japan quickly and with ease, affordably, and or for free. Hope you found this video very helpful. If you did, please give me a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a comment down below. I would also appreciate it if you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at comic95. You can add me on Snapchat at comicthesavior and read my blog at comic95.com. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any video suggestions, questions, or any tips that you have for what helped you learn Japanese after moving to Japan that are either super cheap and or entirely free, please leave them down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.